Sunker, and today I want to show you guys how I made a kick and a snare using Serum and some effects in Ableton Live. So let's jump into our computer here and let's start showing you guys what I did. So it's a really cool process. I'm going to explain step by step on what I did. So I'm just going to start with the Serum. So this is my kick. Sounds really nice. Basically what I did is I took a sine wave and just modulated the pitch, which is what you're seeing right here. It's just a really aggressive click. And then it just goes down a little below the fundamental note. Then for the click, I added some white noise, so without the white noise. This is a click, the first transient of the snare, which is controlled by this. So this basically controls the click. Something really simple. This is like the volume here. There's really not that much happening. I added here some EQing, some distortion, and the OTT. So this is basically what I did. This is controlling all the EQ settings in the drive and the distortion. So you can change a little bit the tone depending. So depending how you set it, it's how it changes the tone of the kick. Then I added some OTT, just very little amount of OTT. Around 37%. I added a EQ with the shape of how like a kick should be shaped. Like this is just a basic EQ setting, nothing too special. Fundamental should be a bit lower. There we go. So that's basically the EQ. Then I added some distortion over here. Just a very basic distortion, a little bit of bass, some drive, and I reduced the output a bit. And I added a transient shaper to make it a bit more clicky. And then another OTT, just like very little OTT. Like 10% OTT, and you finish it off with the limiter here, just like limiting and clipping, just making that nice little kick sound. It's actually very simple. It's not too complicated to do a kick, and you can actually do this like in any other DAW besides Ableton, for example, in FL Studio, where you can just like download the OTT plugin, just use any EQ, a transient shaper, and some limiter and distortion saturation. It's very simple actually to make a kick drum in using Serum. So if I turn off all the effects, this is how it sounds. So it sounds a little bit more like an 808, sort of like analog kick. Very synthetic, but with the effects, sounds a lot better for dubstep and all those kinds of music. You'd use this kind of kick. Now for the snare. So for the snare, I wasn't actually all that creative when creating it. I basically just followed what Riot did on his live stream for his snare, just modified it a bit. I did some changes. So it's nothing too complex here. So if I go here to our LFOs, I have that LFO1 is the level for the fundamental here, the note, which I'm using a triangle wave, but a sine wave also works. Then I modulate the noise here, which I'm using a analog noise here. And there's so many noises that work well. For example, let's see. I particularly chose this one. You can just like change the noise to change like the tone of the snare and just keep modifying it like that. Then over here, just controlling the click of the snare, that initial click. So if I bypass this, it does that little click in the snare. It sounds very cool. It gives it that snare characteristic. And here, this is the important part here. So this is basically doing the shaping of the snare. So if I want more like depending. So basically this is controlling the pitch of the noise. This is controlling the EQ of the noise, just like how I did the kick. This is also doing the sound design of the snare. So the EQ isn't nothing too special. If you haven't seen the VR snare synthesis tutorial video, I'll link it in the description. It's basically just a clip from his live stream where he did a snare, which basically I just like sort of recreated it, adapted it, and changed it up a bit. And it's just that, so it'll just link that so you guys can recreate it, as well as all this is just basically a recreation of what he did. So I have the frequency shifter, which sort of changes the tone a bit of the snare. Then I added a OTT, just like halfway there, just 50% wet. Some distortion, with a little bit of bass, some drive. Then I did this very important part, which is the EQ. And what I did here in the EQ, this isn't exactly like VR, it's sort of similar, but I wanted to do it more of my style. So what I did is I boosted a teeny bit the fundamental, which is around 164 hertz, 200 hertz. I removed some of this mud here in the 500 hertz, and then I boosted the 1000 hertz, which is just the clap part of the snare. So then I just like dipped here, which is that annoying frequencies that sound a bit sharp in your ear, and then I boosted a bit the high end and just like did this curve here, which most drums just like remove this part of the high end completely. I then added again a transient shaper. Just to give it a more click, more punchy sound. Again, some OTT. Not much OTT happening here, just like 9% OTT. And then I just clipped it. So basically the kick and the snare patch are essentially the same. What changes in both is the Serum patch, which for this one is more of a snare patch, which the other is kick patch, but the post-processing is essentially the same. So this is how I did it. You can actually recreate this in FL Studio, Logic, any other DAW, just like with some very basic effects. Like you only need OTT, saturation, and EQing. Those are the essential plugins you need to create a kick or snare drum in your DAW. As well as you don't necessarily need a Serum. You can do this with any other VSC, let it be massive or any other synth that has a basic shape like a sine wave and some white noise or noise in general and some envelopes. That's all you need. So this is how I did the kick and snare. Hope you guys learned and found this useful. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. Until next time.